streaming, and then I can go to my channel, see if it actually works. And that's that one. Let's see if we have a content. Do we have live? Am I on the right one? Nope. Switch accounts. Switch account to this one. So how's your morning at the bakery?
Busy. We're we've got 10 people going full out pastry, artisan bread. It's pretty great. So
Nice.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's really exciting to have a bakery for, I've definitely have gone through doing a lot more home cooking and gardening because of COVID. So maybe after this COVID thing, people will be a lot more appreciative of how much work it takes to bake something,
yeah.
and your
And
business
actually,
will pick up.
the need that we try and fill mostly is around those who want to have the home cooked from scratch locally sourced meal but don't have the time or space to do it. So at the start of the pandemic, obviously everybody came back to doing, a lot of people came back to doing stuff at home from scratch on their own or whatever, and they want to
Hmm.
continue that going forward. So we're actually getting, we're gaining momentum coming out of it, and
Right.
and so that's been good.
No,
That's been
that's
good.
wonderful.
Now I just want to make sure I'm finding you on the YouTubes.
Yeah, I'm gonna share the link right now.
Gotcha.
I think it's this one. Double check. Um, I will tweet this as well right now so that people can.
Started streaming 103 seconds ago. Looks good.
Yeah, this is just the preliminary little bit of chat. I generally have as my camera a screen share for people um, that are using the Zoom, but generally, there's a little bit of a delay, but I hope that people can just switch to Zoom if they're listening to YouTube to put in a question, and then if there are, maybe there's the three of you guys, the three amigos, right? The three monsters. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, if one of you is kind of looking at the YouTube comments, if there's any questions that have come off the live chat on YouTube, that would be really good. Um, Let me just make sure that I'm advertising that we're live. Why is this? Oh, there we go. Come on.
And Dave's joined us as well, I see on the call too.
Oh,
So
great.
that's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to do that. Like I said, it's really nice to have a live one on the line, a project that we can help. And of course, thank you again for being so generous with showing how your bakery works and allowing people to to learn from it. And it's wonderful. It's good
Yeah,
to
should
have
be
that.
fun.
Yeah. Let me just see. My green screen is kind of odd. It's I'm partially see through. I don't know why I have my background color thing not working properly.
You're not supposed to talk about that not yet deployed military hardware that you're wearing for
Right.
cloaking.
Yeah. You can see a bit of the green in my hair, but then my shirt's transparent. Why? Why is that? Mm, Gain, temperature, pan. I think it's effects. I think it's an effects of the camera. Um, Capture device. Scene transitions. Okay. Hmm. I could start to record this. Okay, I will record this, I guess. It's recording it as well. And is it high enough definition? I think someone was complaining about the format, that the screen was too wide or something like that. But we have, there's this view, and then there's this view, and then, oh, there's Rick. We have a lot of people today. This is great. So it should be fun. Now, we'll start in like 2 minutes once we got enough time for people to start. Um, Rick, Happy New Year. Good to see you back this year. I'm back in OBS form. I can make myself larger for now. If I want to be a little larger, I can do that. Scene, I can copy this, duplicate this. Scene with small atom. Small atom.
I can hear you. I don't see your picture though.
Oh, it's on YouTube. I'm gonna start to screen share this thing. I was thinking of a better way to integrate with Zoom. YouTube. I guess I can post again. The YouTube link is there again. I should just put that in the description of the meetups as well.
You could just
because we'll be streaming live on YouTube now from now on.
You can find those services that let you use any window as your camera, like makes a virtual camera.
Yeah, I can do that by screen sharing, but I.
No, I mean.
Oh, a virtual camera, right?
It creates a virtual camera. So then you say, I'm already using that at my camera for that thing, so I'll just make that window my virtual camera.
Virtual camera. I'm on Linux. I wonder if it works here. Virtual camera.
I think it works better on Linux. I saw instructions for Linux and Windows.
This webcamoid? Is this what it is?
There's a bunch of them, I think, but basically
look at me. I'm a floating head of death with my black shirt. Oh no, I can see green through me again.
So what's the...
Is this it? The virtual camera driver for Linux. I think that's just the driver. I think I have been playing around with that.
If you look for, I think some people showed up virtual camera for Zoom.
Virtual camera for Zoom, yeah.
And then they showed how to do that and how to make Zoom use it.
I don't want to watch a video about it though.
No, I think somebody put instructions or something on.
Okay. OBS, blah blah blah. I found it.
Yeah.
Plugin available. Virtual webcam for what is all this? How to install. This is all for Mac though, so meh.
Yeah, but
is it the same tool? Okay, let's see.
I think the easy instructions were somebody had a little utility for Windows and then somebody had more instructions for Mac. So
well, I know that there is a plugins, right? Plugins. General, output, source, projectors, preview, importers, studio mode. Oh no, this is just settings. Where the heck is the add-ins for scripts now? Where does OBS have? You guys stream to YouTube, right? So
if you search for a virtual camera OBS Linux, there's OBS virtual camera on Linux.
Okay.
First.
OBS virtual.
First in OBS forum. So. And then there's a plugin. I think there's just a plugin you can use on Linux.
Right. Is not built on Linux yet. You can get the function with 4L sync plugin here. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it says OBS Studio 26.1 has this built in. Which version am I on here? I'm on 2503, so I'm not on the release candidate. Shoot. Oh well.
Anyway. So it sounds like there's this video for Linux sync plugin for OBS Studio.
Okay, I'm on the wrong link because it doesn't show. There's JetBrains. That's cool.
So I'll paste for the people that are interested.
Yeah.
No, that's not the link I wanted.
That looks like a square root symbol.
Yes.
Are you doing math?
Copy paste and then copy something weird.
We interrupted Rick and all his math.
There you go. You never know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're
jumping all over the place. Whatever comes up, we do it.
All right.
So that, and it talks about
tools, virtual camera, tools.
Right. So.
Really, it's not here. This might be like Oh no, 25. What the heck? Hmm.
So I the reason I came across one person was actually using it on a Zoom call,
Right. Cool.
uh, but they were on Windows, but they were using the OBS thing, and they just had a little. The Windows utility had a nice little installer, and they said, "Well, there's some web page instructions for the Mac, right?"
Right.
And then if you're on Linux, there's some instructions
Well, I
too.
don't. I don't think I can fiddle with this now. We've kind of chewed up a
Yeah,
lot of time.
yeah,
So I'm
no,
gonna just
maybe for
screen
next time.
share so you can see what I have if you're using the Zoom call. I'm just gonna screen share on Zoom. It's gonna be a little bit smaller
Yeah, I mean, I
than
just
everything
followed the
else.
link
But
to the
there's
meetup.
also another camera I can use from my phone. So there's another really good application on Android that allows you to use your camera as a webcam, and actually is really good because your phone cameras are pretty good these days.
All
So I
right,
could also do
I
that.
that's the other thing. I know some people that have just joined a second time from their phone and just put it on a little thing, and that's my camera.
Yeah,
That's the
but
simplest and easiest.
well, that's the thing is doing that, but you can also have it done through the system, so it doesn't look like there's two of you in the Zoom call. So you're using
Yeah,
the camera from your phone. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
I
you
get what you
still
mean.
have all the other stuff like the Zoom action going on your computer, which you might
Okay,
run
so
into
basically,
problems when you have it on something else. So sharing the screen. I will. Should I share the whole desktop? Do I have any top secret information here? Uh, top
so
secret
basically, if people want
information.
to talk and ask questions, they should join the Zoom call. Otherwise, they can watch via other methods. Is that
Well, so we
the
have a
plan?
couple of folks. I'm going to make you a co-host. You can look at the. Uh, Good to have you back. So okay, James, make co-host. So James is our guest. Hello, James. Maybe you can do a quick
Well, hello.
intro. James, we had a good talk on Tuesday, right? On your podcast.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I am a software architect turned pastry chef, and my wife had the humble and unambitious goal of starting a side project bakery that has grown, and we accidentally now employ 26 people. And so we are, yeah, we've had, as a software developer and a career in that space, I've obviously had a lot of experience in building systems, and uh, guilty in this case of doing this. Here's this little thing I'll do as a prototype, it'll never go into production, and then 3 years later running a business on it. So we have we've grown, and there's been some pains, and there's different things that we've had to approach in kind of new and unique ways, and we've tried to work through that. However, started the conversation a couple of weeks ago with two of my really good friends, David Paquette and Simon Timms. David's been able to join us on the call here today. The three of us are actually, we're a little group we call the ASP.NET Monsters, and we do work on the largely primarily on a Microsoft stack for development. But we started a conversation about, hey, wouldn't it be interesting to talk architecture about this? And I have this real world problem, and Dave and Simon volunteered to jump in with me. And we got partway through the call and kind of realized, time out a second here. We've got a problem that we're having a little bit of trouble expressing how we want to move forward. And some of the conclusions we came to, we felt like they were the right way to go, but they kind of contradicted, some of our what we've been told our best practices. And we had a vernacular and a vocabulary, and we felt like this was a direction that we should move in, and yet we kind of lived with those contradictions. So we reached out to Adam, and he was kind enough to join us on our call earlier this week, and we had a great conversation about just kind of an intro level approach to event modeling, and I took that and applied that to the conversation that Dave and Simon and I were having, and today we find ourselves chatting about it again here online. So yeah, Dave, Simon, and I also work together at a company that's based out of Austin in the States, but we all live in Canada. That's my story, but it looks like Adam walked way, maybe. So maybe I should tell jokes
Put
at
his
this point.
invisibility cloak on again. And his cone of silence.
I think he's desperately trying to figure out how to share his screen so we can see whatever he's seeing. I don't know.
Hello. I am back.
Hello.
I just had to get a little suction cup thing for the back of my phone.
Gotcha.
So I could stand it up. It's kind of neat. It's a little unicorn that you suction cup to the back of your phone.
There's a few more people in the waiting room. Did you want me
Oh
to?
yeah, go ahead. And as long as it's not an obvious intruder, then yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people are coming in from our workshop to continue to learn. So this will be
Wonderful.
really nice. So yeah, sorry I missed the last part of your intro, but we kind of I already was privy to it on Tuesday, so it's good. Thank you for explaining to everyone else how things are going for you. So I just want to double check that. Something I noticed last time I was streaming, I had a quarter of the screen sometimes showing, depending on how the share was being done. So far it
While
seems
Adam
to be
is still wrangling, set a few things up so we can see.
I'm okay, Rick. I'm done wrangling. No, I'm just kidding.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns they want to raise, or anything they want to bring up to help kick this off, and then we'll get back to presentation as scheduled?
Yeah, well, I guess what we want, Rick, is just for people to look at the live stream chat. If there's any people, there's people already saying hello.
Do you have a
So,
link to
hello,
that?
hello. That's just on YouTube. I have a link to that. I should actually post.
Posted in the Zoom chat. Most of the people here
Yeah, can you also
follow
post
the
it?
Zoom chat.
Yeah, can you also post it in a comment on the Meetup?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
That would be really good. I think I'm just going to use the same link for the Meetup. So see the live streams here basically on each
So I gotta go.
Meetup
I'm not
that we
looking at
have.
it yet either. I gotta go to YouTube and find it.
Oh,
I just posted it in the chat there.
yeah.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Chat history doesn't show up when new people join.
Yeah, that's the big problem. I wish there was an option. Maybe there is. There's so many Zoom options now. So, anywho, yeah. Did I actually do the screen share yet? I don't think I did.
Got it.
Here you can
Not-
see
not in
you
Zoom,
can
you
see
have
how
not-
I'm running this show. There, that's my Zoom. It's just my control center. So, okay, thanks everyone for joining. We have Rick and James, and then do you want to elect a couple of co-hosts as well? I guess David would be a good co-host to kind of save us if anything else is happening. Who else do we do we have the third monster as well, or no?
Simon was predisposed, so he
Okay.
was unable to join us today. But
All right.
And yeah, David here. I'm here, and I will monitor the chat on YouTube and
Yeah.
interject if anybody has questions.
Great, and if there's questions here as well, that's wonderful. Oh shoot, oh okay, that's good. So thank you for your posts, everyone. Yep. I don't know why I have something as. Sorry, my Zoom meetings settings are weird, so I was chatting privately to people instead of posting links publicly. Anyway, that's fixed now. So, okay, just for an introduction from our side, for James, how we run this usually is we find some example problems to work through and teach people event modeling with it. We went into Wordly maps at one point and found how we can use event modeling instead to do similar approaches to get the similar goals met, but maybe add a timeline to that. This is for your strategic year-end meeting about the bakery of what you want to do. We could do something like this. But for for your immediate needs, we're talking about architecture of exactly how many swim lanes you have for different services that you want, and then how the workflow actually ends up being in your in your company. So in this case, one of the things that we did, just for your background, is a time tracking application. And I'm not sure why people removed these lines, but okay. Everyone edits this, so it's kind of become a mess. But we use it as a teaching tool, because it's kind of what happens anyway with real event models. So as you can see, we have that timeline that I was talking about. In this case, we're modeling a time tracking system where we go through steps of putting your time in, logging the time, update some views on that same page. This compared to this, you can see that we have state has changed down below. We show how that actually happens with those events persisted here. We also show how we can do this in a polyglot way. Where's our, yeah, right. So we have this this diagram here, which shows that we could have containers or serverless or whatever in different technologies. But if we share an event store or state, and we share some things like views in a generic kind of template fashion, we could reuse that across different stacks and have people from different backgrounds actually contribute to the same solution. And I should probably also share the link to this for people that are participating. So if you want to see that in the Zoom call, there's a link to this Miro board, and we'll carve out a little place on here to do the bakery. So anyway, I hope that's starting to make sense. We then have mock-ups of things like approving timesheets and what happens with them. The little icons, if you noticed, are a relation to the polyglot platform explanation, which means we had certain slices done by PHP, because there's an elephant here, and certain slices done in .NET on Windows, and there's others that are Marios, which are .NET on Linux. And so we can divide up, kind of start to superimpose some things on the event model as to where things are happening. And in the end, this whole thing is really kind of a blueprint of how your bakery works in your case, but this is how the time tracking system works. So our goal today is to get this for you for your bakery. See how far we can do that. So someone online is asking about the link for the Miro board on the chat. So if someone can do the favor and post that in the chat on YouTube, that would be wonderful. I'm not sure if we even have that link on the Meetup still, so maybe that's another Meetup link we need to include. But anyway, fear not, you will have that link before we get started on some collaboration. And so, James, the wonderful thing about this is that when you're talking about new features or areas you need to develop, we can start to involve a lot of other people and talk to how the system's going to work. Now, one important difference, if you're not doing event sourcing, you're just doing a traditional system, the events still exist, but they're kind of in your mind, and they're good placeholders for what's going on. And I just want to show you how that ends up being done. Is that when you're talking about new features or so here we have.
Adam, is it all right if I post the micro link in YouTube chat as well?
The Miro link in the YouTube channel? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be really good. And I forgot to tweet this, didn't I? Somehow I am stuck here with this not working. Close. What is going on? Twitter. Huh. All right. Let me see. All right. So back to your type of architecture here. What we have instead of just events, notice that in our type of event-driven systems, all you do is store the event, and then you make different updates to different tables depending on these events happening. This case, we're augmenting another system with an event-driven system. For example, extending a CMS to have profile pictures added as a separate system. So the new system is this new swim lane here, but the rest of the system is old and just uses tables. So you can start to talk about that now. Sebastian Bortz showed that this actually can be quite a lot of information in terms of like space taken up. So he's collapsed these to be sticky notes and just to relate them if they have coupling between them or show that you're using the same fields. So you can probably look at that for you just to give you a good background. I think after this background we can kind of see the difference between how you're operating and how event source systems operate. You can see that there is still events that we do with traditional systems, but it's something that's happening in the user's brain. That's why we have this brain icon here, because as far as I'm concerned, I registered. The system, however, ended up doing whatever it needs to do, like maybe putting a default record in the credit score, right? So that's the reality of the state of the system. The reality of the state in someone's mind of the system is that I just registered. That's what's in my brain, and this is quite important for any system. The nice thing about event-sourced systems is that they're pretty much one and the same when you're actually doing something like uploading a profile pic. It ends up being exactly that. It's just exactly that event. It does have some fallout later where we subscribe to that event and do other things. But as far as doing the work right here about adding the profile pic, it's done right there and then. Other slices later on can take care of that. Other parts. So that's quite an interesting thing to look at, traditional system versus an event source system, and how the two can actually coexist together. This is really nice to have for people to realize that it's not an ultimatum to have this thinking of event-driven thinking to be like we need to be either event-driven or not. They're fully compatible together. It's all about just making information available in all sides of the equation. So I hope that makes sense. Is that good enough background for you, James, and to kind of get started and start drawing some of this stuff for your?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, great. So where would you like to start? Maybe give us a background of what your next steps are. You said you had some, you needed some probably good thoughts and extra inspection of your table. Of your table structures and things like that.
Yeah, so the catalyst for some, what was going to be some rework, but might actually be, we might phrase it a little bit differently today, but the catalyst was that we were going to be adding another order type to the system. And the problem was perceived as being there were already 8 different ways that orders could be stored. And in this particular one, there's a lot of metadata that gets attached to it. And it's actually composed by multiple actors. So we will have potentially dozens or even in some cases up to 200 or 300 people interacting with this new type of order. And so for that, I started to work through, and I realized really quickly that my existing tables did not have I did not have the capability to store the kind of information that I needed.
Right.
So now in terms of just general cleanup, I think, if I back up a little bit, there's a lot of stuff that led up to that part of the conversation, but that's where everything kind of broke down, and so we wanted to start to talk about it in more detail, and that's when we invited you into the conversation.
Okay, great.
So for us, it's this new order type called a group order, and I don't know if you got my message on Twitter. I did send you a snapshot of my whiteboard that I was working on, but I'm not sure where you wanted to start from.
Okay. I don't have my Twitter on here. I should probably open that up.
Do you mind if we just maybe get an image of that snapshot, and we could probably paste that image?
Yeah, exactly. So let me just go to Twitter and just peel this tab off as a separate thing.
And so there are 2 caveats. The first is that you cannot use the side of a walk-in cooler as a whiteboard, as it permanently stains. And I did have to spend 20 minutes trying to clean that up. So that's my first caveat. The second one is that
you're teaching us important lessons here.
If you ever own a bake shop. The second one is that I believe in your methodology around creating the wireframes and putting it up there. In my particular case, I shortcutted because I have the wireframes offline, and so I just represented them as sticky notes and did not draw them on each of the sticky notes. But I have them, on like offline in my head as to what those would look like. So
Yeah, that's fine. The reason that we do them again is just to include people that are highly visual. So there's people that just look at a wall of stickies and it's lost on them, right? People,
So
a good portion of people are
we have
visual, so
10
we can always.
confused bakers in our bake shop right now.
Yeah,
Like,
so
walk in and
so
they're going, what?
yeah, so and I know that it takes extra time to draw things, and so hopefully with Miro you'll see that that can actually be expedited quite quickly, and then you can have that visual aspect all the way along. And even if you have a bunch of back sort of under the covers kind of automated workflows which don't have screens, you still want like monitor screens to show what's going on underneath the hood. Like it's not just a black box that's humming along and out the other end something happens. If things go wrong, you got to know why they went wrong, what part of the process it was in. So this is where the monitoring screens come in as a really good substitute for those things. Well, this really doesn't impact any particular user's screen. Always throw in an administrator swim lane that's going to see how many orders there are, what's happening with some of the automation, and make that something that will show that. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, we can start definitely with the event, kind of brainstorming exercise and making sure that we have the workflow specified correctly for sure.
So one tip on screens, if you have anything kind of offline or whatever when you're doing an exercise, right? You've got it sketched on a piece of paper, photocopy it and stick it to the wall. Or take a photo if you want to online, you got this sketched on a piece of paper, take a photo of it and put that photo on your whiteboard and say it's something like this, and just kind of don't try and recreate them. Whatever you have is good enough. You just want to actually kind of bring the important ones, the ones that'll help people get it, into the context of your diagram. That's my general tip for people. Say, oh, I already have that, but it's in an offline format. Well, take a photo of it, stick it there. Don't redraw it.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
Good enough. Say this is temporary. This is roughly something like that, and don't let people fixate on it being the final product.
Yeah, so the other thing I wanted to show, just quickly here, was the shorthand for traditional systems, which Sebastian did. So let me just see if I can do that. What screen was that? Let's see. We have. There it is. Okay. So I just want to draw your attention to this. So this is the event modeling website, but in terms of the blog, actually it should be on the home page. Down below here, you'll see the recent posts here. It's kind of a cheat sheet from Sebastian. What he's done as well is, so if you really want to see, how this kind of glues together, definitely look at the latest article on event modeling, because it'll show you just how quickly you can get to this spot of understanding what each pattern does: external communication, internal communication, where things are stored. He does explain them a little bit more. However, what he does is he allows. I'm not sure if that worked, but this idea of these events, he still represents the row updates with events, not like what I showed you earlier. That's all I wanted to say. So let's now continue on with our project here. So I copied this stuff here. I'm going to bring everyone to me. So I'm going to click on my name and say bring everyone to me. I'm hoping that the screen is going to behave. I know I'm changing its size all the time. Let's see if OBS can handle what I'm doing here. And yeah, so I think it's fine. I copied all of this just so we have some things to copy paste for our own purposes, and we're not typing things from scratch. For example, screens, etc. And so you had how many order types? Did you say?
So I have the 8. The direction that I went with the modeling that I was trying though, I actually threw the picture down there if you wanted to.
Oh, perfect.
If you wanted to have a look at it and see what I kind of.
Where did you put it on the actual event model?
Yeah,
There
if
it
you
is.
zoom
Yes.
out,
Oh,
you
right,
should
this
see.
one.
Yeah.
Yes, I did see this. Yes. So it's
Okay.
our reference, right? So you have some
Yeah.
color coding here.
Yeah. So basically, if there's no color on it, then that's a view or a projection, or the blue ones are commands. So I wasn't able to do the lines that.
Oh, I see what you have here. There's a little legend that
Yeah.
you put: view,
Yes,
projection,
exactly.
command, event, UI. Oh, okay.
And this is actually not. Sorry, I apologize. I'm going to delete this one because this is not the one that I wanted to share.
Okay.
I'm going to just delete that because that's not quite
Yeah,
right. I
that's
did not
fine.
have it quite aligned right. I'll get it into there right away though.
Yeah, no problem. So, just for for people wanting to start to guess at what that is, we can start to edit them. But I would definitely have something in my event that would be order placed, and in there we would have a type, maybe, maybe not. This is to be determined whether we have that in there or not. But my initial instincts, like anyone else, is that, well, we have 8 types of things. We have birthday cakes and we have bread. So we'll put in something like that. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens when people want a birthday cake and bread. Whether they can pay for 2 orders separately and all that.
And see, that is actually something that we do that I do struggle with right now, is that you have to see one type through start to finish. So I am working to get past that. I'm just looking. There's an upload capability. There we go, from my device. Okay, I should have it up here in just a second.
So again, for events, we want to have customer, cash, right? So someone's just paying in cash. They don't want to usually have a till that just grabs everything without any information. But we do have a place for I guess specifics with phone numbers to when the birthday cake's ready to be picked up or whatever else. Like you said, there's also lunch orders for like sandwiches and soups and things like that get to be nice and complex. Maybe we can start with the most complex workflow and see if we can answer that, right?
Sure. So here I did get the image loaded in now, and if you have a look-see at this one.
Yeah, zooming in, enhance.
Okay, so up along the top we have the different actors, and then down at the bottom we have the swim lanes for menu and sales and group orders. Across the middle you kind of see what's going on here. So what happens in this particular case is an administrator of the system, so myself or my wife, we would create a special menu for a particular date. And once that menu is created, it's now available online for people to create a group order. And the point of this is that there are certain types of, if a group calls us and says they, a perfect example is next Friday, the school division has an in-service, and there will be approximately 800 teachers in the city who are looking for a lunch. And there's some kinds of meals that are easy to create one at a time, and there's other kinds of meals that are easy to create 100 at a time. And so we want to kind of steer ourselves into the pit of success and say, these are the products that we have available for you on this date. And then we send them a link to these special menu orders. So now they can create a group order, and they can, from there, people will get a an invite to view and allow them to select their meal. And then the group order status is updated as we go. As administrators, we can view all of the prospective group orders that are out there, so we can kind of monitor for capacity. As these prospective orders come in, we will that capacity is reduced, and future groups, if we've only got 40 people left that we've got available for, a group of 60 wouldn't be able to be created, and so forth. The packing list is updated as people select their orders, even though it's not done, because that's the time at which the data changes. So I had some questions around that.
Yeah, of course, we can get into that. That's a good example of just writing down facts and then letting projections determine
kind
what
of play out.
Let it play out. Don't. And I think we went over that on Tuesday when we were doing the meetup with you. Is that this actually allows you to move forward with more confidence, because some of the things, like you just said, like, oh, I don't know if that's going to affect this invoice or the order. Just record that it happened, and then you'll see that you'll have a place for that thinking later on in the timeline, where you can say, okay, this read model or this thing that subscribes to it. Theoretically, not even your implementation does not need to do that, but you can definitely talk about that these things happened in the past. How do I make sense of them, and how do I make a live report that adjusts this? And perhaps if it's not finished yet, it just has status incomplete, and that's fine. You can have some sort of filtering on the UIs that will never show an incomplete order, but you can treat it as a live report, so you don't have a giant nasty SQL thing you have to execute to do a bunch of joins and things like that. So a lot of the thinking is kind of live reports is really how I tend to show people how an event source systems differs from a traditional system. Is that instead of having SQL statements running across multiple tables, you really end up leveraging live reports instead, where you adjust them as things happen, and that it tends to make people feel a little bit more comfortable with event sourced systems, because they're already familiar with live reports from their day-to-day work. So we can definitely use that to explain things. So.
Cool. And then at some point, the order is going to close. Now, that might come from a timeout. So the group administrator, the group leader might say, okay, this is an order for Friday, so it has to be submitted by Wednesday. So people have an opportunity to go and pick their meal, the selection that they want. And then sometime on Wednesday, that timeout is going to happen.
Yeah.
And when that event happens, it's going to close the order.
Right.
The group leader could also have an option to go in and say, do you know what, I'm going to force this menu item onto this person and then close the order down.
Okay.
We're going to make the payment. That's going to update our scheduled orders. Our kitchen then kicks in, and they're going to see the daily orders. That's when it's going to show up in their view. They're going to be able to indicate that they're prepping it, which will also update the status of those orders. And then our front of house staff at some point will begin packing as well. And then that'll give the if it's a pickup order, then they're going to have an idea of when that's going to be ready and whatnot. So that's kind of what I ended with. I was not able to put lines on there because, as I said, I was permanently defacing the
That's fine.
However,
just so you know that once you get going with event modeling, we rarely put lines in there as well as we're going fast. So we do the lines to be complete when people are learning.
The other thing that I noticed was that as I got to this point, I noticed a few things that I've missed, and I'll need to go back and rework that. But it also meant moving about 25 Post-it notes in order to make that change.
Yeah,
that's where the online thing is going to be a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. So I just copied this section here, so we have some idea of what we're looking to do, and I think what we can do is slowly start to use your example to talk about the first set of events that happen in this particular workflow. The nice thing about this type of work is that you can easily then extend to other types of orders and see which, if you start to adjust what you have in terms of your workflow for this type of order, you can see which parts are shared among regular orders, maybe something that's been ordered. I'm not sure if you have maybe sandwiches that people can order when they just walk in, or call ahead 15 minutes, and then it's made and they come back. Yeah, so you might see that there's some common pieces of information, and you can start to draw lines in the timeline as well, where you can have trade-offs or handoffs to another, less onerous workflow and tracking, right? Obviously, you don't need to track as much for someone for a sandwich being made for someone that just wants lunch that day. So we can show where your system makes use of previous things. So I'll invite everyone to kind of gather to the right-hand side of that photo that you pasted, and I'm going to copy one event, and we can just think of all the events that happen. So obviously there is a part that you make a menu available. So menu made available or published, menu published, right, by yourself, an administrator. So you can basically show that on Monday you're going to have, I don't know, ham sandwich. I like using real data just for fun. It's way easier to track. So maybe you can have ham sandwiches. You know what? Let's make it more granular so people can have better ideas. Let's say that menu item published, and then we'll finalize the whole thing later. So menu item published. Go ahead and people can grab any of those copies and make more. I'm going to say Monday. I'm going to add a ham sandwich for $5. $5
Whoa,
is cheap for a ham sandwich, right?
Yeah, you'd be putting us under.
Oh, you're a fancy bakery, are you? Okay.
We are. We are.
Sorry, let's change that. Let's make that $15. Okay, there you go. So we have that, and I'm just going to duplicate a whole bunch more, and I'm going to say that I do these things for Monday. Maybe I do all the Monday stuff here. Let's not go too crazy. I'm not going to make too many, or we'll never finish. I'll just make 3 more for Monday. So I'm going to have a soup. I'm going to have a Brussels sprout and clove soup. You can tell I'm not in that industry for a reason. And that's going to be just $10. All right. And then here we're going to have asparagus and beet soup. I'm also from Eastern Europe, so I'll have a lot of soups in my part of the menu. So asparagus and beets slightly cheaper. It'll be $9, but that's available for Monday. Hey, maybe I'll make this one's quite popular, so I'm gonna make it available on Monday, Tuesday, or maybe Wednesday, and Friday. That's when people have to make extra soups, right? Maybe it keeps for a day, right? Something like that. Would that be accurate?
Sure. Yeah, that's
okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay, so change the days, folks. Get creative with some funny things. Nothing offensive, please, but something that would make people smile. That'd be good. New York pizza, great. Okay, and we have some days there. We have one Friday. Maybe we'll have this ham sandwich available on Friday as well. I think that ham sandwiches would be available more often, but this is our bakery, so. And then of course, because we're just treating the menu items for sandwiches because that's probably what people order for those things. We'll switch to cakes and decorating them after we get this done. Okay, so let's just say I add all those things, and I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to say menu finalized, and maybe I'm doing this on Sunday night. Menu finalized, and again, I'm going to draw or just copy. No, I don't have that. So I'm going to draw a timeline so that we can mark what happens on each day, and we can actually have something realistic here that actually would happen. Let's just assume that, just make it a little bit thicker and give it a nice arrowhead at the end. And at the beginning here, we'll say this is what's going on Sunday night. Sunday night. And of course, you're using some screens to add these menus. So just put in up here. I'm going to call this menu menu creator. And then we're going to have a little area to, pick your existing items. And then you're going to drag and drop them to the other side. And really, that's all you're doing here. We can figure out how that looks. But you can imagine this being done like this. And then after we're done. And so this is also the admin. We don't have an actor, so we can go to this icon finder, find our user. Oh, why don't we just do this? Chef, that'll be nice. Find me a chef. Ooh, awesome. Hey, we should have the Swedish chef in here.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I hope you like that. That was pretty.
That was perfect. We actually just like 2 days ago on our Instagram feed just posted a review of one of our sandwiches by the Swedish chef.
That's awesome. Maybe you can have a Swedish chef menu item. I'm not sure if it'll go over well, given how that guy cooks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you'd probably get sued, wouldn't you, for a copyright infringement?
It's been
or
known
something.
to happen.
Yeah. I think even The Simpsons made fun of the litigious nature of Disney Corporation. But I think they got away with it because there's a clause for parody law, right, in the United States, where as long as you're making fun of a well-known brand, they can't do anything to you because you're part of culture at that point, or something like that. I forget the origins of that. I'm no lawyer. All right. Finalize. Let's make this a little smaller so it can fit in the button, and just put it in the middle. Give it a nice color, blue. Come on, blue. Oop, too blue. There, you can actually read the writing on that. Finalize is there, and oops, I guess I should have a bunch of these buttons. Copy.
So,
Paste.
so Adam,
For
later, I made some swim lanes below.
Sweet.
People,
To organize stuff?
so people can start.
Yeah, exactly. Don't name them yet, though, because we don't know.
I just made up some names to give people they can change them.
Right.
But once we get our thing, then we can move it to swim lanes. We just
Right.
keep our, just kind of lets people.
Yeah, we're gonna have to think of how that looks. But yeah, so
So I just make it faster for people when we're do that next step. So that's just you
Now-
can ignore those swim lanes for now if you
Sure.
see them.
I do have a question about the approach in terms of like in here you have the menu item published and you're doing it for each of them, and I understand that. I guess the question that I have is our items are actually defined in an external system. So we use Square Payments, and we have a catalog of items, and so those items are available. And so that select list that we've got that you see in the menu creator out there, we're actually going to just pick the ones from the one side and say those are included on Friday.
yeah, so I guess what you're asking is whether you show the external system in here.
Well, actually, I'm wondering, like in terms of like if that menu creator is for, we would think of that as for a date, like in our when you're designing the front of it, it'd be like for Monday.
Yes,
So
that's right.
down below you have like menu item published, and we've got like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I wonder, I guess.
You could have them as separate events, so that
Right,
if
so
you
just
want.
be for like here's the 3 items.
It depends what's easier. Like as a domain expert, is it easier for you to say, look, I'm going to make this soup every second day because it's very popular. I want it to be fresh. And this other soup that's really gross, I'm going to make once a week and then chuck it in
We
the
don't make
freezer.
gross soup.
Well, I know, I'm just kidding. You're getting really good advertising on this meetup.
Yeah. Well, I think that like I get what you're saying there. So
Well, it's gross to you maybe, but it's something that people in your neighborhood like, and you're
loves the
yeah,
asparagus,
right, exactly.
I threw borscht on there for you.
Oh,
I've got
great,
some
thank you.
mushrooms too, so.
Much appreciated.
So we have in our mind what we would do is we would like it's thinking about, so next Friday is a special day on the calendar for us. So we have our normal menu items, and we allow people, groups of up to 10 can just walk up to our regular online store and they can just go in and add 10 sandwiches to their order, and we just process that through our existing system. So this one sits beside and allows them to put parameters around it saying you know, there's a
We're missing
budget you
some
only.
information from the events then. You're talking about like
Yeah,
capacity, right?
yeah, because we're talking about capacity. So
Yeah.
this group is there's maximum 60 people, and they can spend $17.
I
So they
see.
can get
So
that.
another thing, sorry just to interrupt, but you're basically making custom menus for groups is what's happening.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
we have a missing we have a missing event because
A missing event.
what you have here is you have, and feel free to edit these, right? What you have is a group created, right?
So let's actually ask. I just want to get some because you know there's a warning here. We're using the word menu a lot, and I think we have different meanings for the word menu in context. And I think I just want to highlight that because what you have is you have your regular menu, right? The menu that people can make orders from, but then you have this thing which is kind of it's a menu, right? But it's like a set menu. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what you call it, like whatever you call it.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
just order instead of randomly selecting items from our normal menu, right? On our normal menu, there's also these set menu items, whatever you want. I don't know what you call it, which is basically I can just pick that and it's like that's dinner for 12, right?
So
Do I understand the
you're
what
yes, you're a little bit
close.
yeah, you're a little bit closer to that, Rick. So the idea is that next Friday you can go and create a group order, and each of your group members can pick whichever items they want to. So they're going to get like a group code, and when they walk up to the sign up place, they're going to punch in their group code, and then it's going to be like, oh yeah, I can order either this soup or that sandwich or this pizza, and I
So
can
we
add
can
a
work
drink.
backwards from the end
Okay.
goal. Let's do that. So if
So,
I have
yeah.
a student, let's just look at a student. That
So I
might be.
think
This
I
is
think
for
that's
this is for the teachers, right? So maybe a
It's
teacher.
for the teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
So I
teacher.
think that's the key differentiator to your one of the key differentiator to your business model or the way your business work is. You allow people to create. I, who am paying for it, can create a group menu, right?
Yes.
And then I can give the people that are attending. You go online and pick what you want based on these restrictions.
Correct.
Okay, so on
Oh,
my
nice
group
teacher.
menu, so we don't even have to talk about. We'll work our way back to all the stuff that you need to get the group menu set up, right? And but if we start with so that part of the business model, we start with I as a customer create a group order, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then what do I have to do to make? Well, then someone else is going to have to, like an attendee, right, is going to have to select their stuff, right? And there's some stuff that happens in between,
That's right.
right? So if we just talk about those, then we can work our way backwards. We find out, well, those things have to have been created sometime. We can work backwards. But I think that's a unique differentiator of your business process compared to some others, right?
Right. So yeah, this is about differentiation for us in terms of doing this, because if you imagine the typical scenario for somebody placing an order for a group, one of our customers has over 2,000 employees. They've got 7 sites, and they often have 200 to 240 people picking. And there's an administrator who actually goes out and starts sending group emails that they all reply all to, or they update a spreadsheet, or whatever the case may be. So it's a total mess. So what
Oh,
the
wow.
group administrator wants to do is to say, look, you have a $15 budget. There are $14 pizzas, there are $9 sandwiches, there's $4 bowls of soup, and $3 drinks. You can pick whatever you want from this set menu, and go from there. And
Right.
for most people on any given day, they're allowed to create from our entire menu, anything that we make available, from our breakfast, our sandwiches, our desserts, our pizzas, our salads and soups, or our drinks menus. They can pick those things, and they can create their own little group menu for that day. But on some days we say, nuh-uh, this is a high volume day, so by design you're only allowed to put these things on. So we put restrictions in place. So that's when a set menu is created. So there's a couple of different things, but at the end of the day, if we can assume that the menu has been created, somebody's going to go and create a group, and they're going to select that menu, and now anybody with that group code can go in and they can attach their order. Now, at
So-
the end of the day, the administrator can go in and approve everybody's order, and then away we go.
Okay, so let me see if I got this, because I got your setup. So basically, on a specific day, say I'm an office manager who basically has to order lunch for the team,
Right.
right? And I'm going to go in for next Friday, right? So I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a group order. Now, next Friday, if I understand you correctly, and this is the part I'm not sure, it's next Friday, there's the set menu for next Friday. And I'm restricted to what's available next Friday for group orders.
Right. So there's going to be basically the only limitation is this, and I was leaving this detail because I didn't want to confuse it, but we're talking through in the details, so let's go there. But basically, the menu is normally unrestricted. And anybody can walk up and they can create a group order using any of our menu items from any of our 6 categories that we have.
Right.
Some days we know are going to be high volume days, so we take out certain menu items. For example, we have 3 stone hearth ovens, and we have a maximum capacity of 20 pizzas at a time. So we cannot have 200 people going on and ordering pizzas for 12 o'clock, because that doesn't work. We cannot do it. So we take pizzas off the menu on a group order when we know there's going to be a high volume. And so we have this
There's a business opportunity there.
there is, but we're not a pizzeria. And
That's
so
right.
we
Partner with one.
We could. We on the flip side of it, we try and stay true to who we are.
Right,
One of the
exactly.
things we can do though is a Philly cheesesteak sandwich on a fresh baked baguette, and we can do 200 of those in 12 minutes. So we get a line set up with 4 people, and that was our timing. The last time we did an order with 200 of them, it took us 12 minutes to put those sandwiches together. So when we know there's going to be a high volume day, we say, okay, we can do the jambon fromage, we can do the Philly cheesesteak, et cetera, we can do soup till the cows come home, but we're not going to put pizzas on the order. So the set menu is actually a restricted menu where we put, and it's for a specific date. So
if I understand you correctly, so basically there are daily restrictions. On this day, these things are not available.
Correct.
There's no daily additions per se yet, right?
That's right. It's not an addition.
So,
it's not even actually a restriction or an excluded. It's if there is a set menu for this day, then you can't add things off the menu.
Okay.
So it's more like a bounding box about what's allowed versus what's excluded.
Oh, I see. So your business basically, you say on that high volume day, here's what's available.
That's right.
So it's not. So on that day, if you have a group order, so for any day, that basically you're saying, this is our normal group order menu, but on this high volume day, you might have high volume group order, right?
That's right.
So you have kind of set group order menus, and you say, for that day, I'm going to use the high volume group order. For that day, I'm going to use the regular group order menu. For this day, I'm going to use the Christmas group order menu. Is that kind of...
Yeah, it's kind of the idea. And so, for example, going back to the school in-service, there's 4 in-services left this year.
Right.
We're going to create a different high-volume menu for each of those in-service dates. That way, the teachers will want to try the different things each time, and they get 3 options on those days. So there's a meat option, a vegetarian option, and then a vegan, gluten-free option.
So for any given day, there is one group order available for that. There's either the default group order or some other custom group order.
Like a bounded order, yeah.
Okay.
Bounded item availability.
Okay, so basically we have to create the group order menus.
Is this kind of getting there in terms of the screens, what people should be seeing at the top?
Yeah. So they get to pick, something like that, where they get to specify which of those.
So I
items they
added the
want. Yeah.
teacher on the left-hand side and a Bernie Sanders because that's what's happening out there.
It needs to be there.
Yeah.
So I get that, and that's why I'm like, because I'm looking at this from what you described now, right? And one of the things you'll notice is that we have this menu item published, menu item published.
Yeah, those are wrong now.
Those are wrong now that you've described your business model. They made sense from a standard, like adding stuff to a menu.
Yeah.
But, right?
Yeah, you would have a group created Friday in school lunch, and then here you would have, this stuff added to the Friday in school lunch. And so one of the things that's interesting for you, James, is I mentioned it when we met, but this is how you kind of do it. Is I would put an ID 001 or something in here because that's a ID that an ID column would have in my database. What I would do is I would give it a friendly key, such as Friday in school lunch. That's why anywhere that this needs to be referenced in our workflow, I'm not looking at a number. I'm looking at something that actually tells me about that number. So I'm talking about this specific menu, right?
Right.
Maybe I can use the word menu as well on here, and it would be add item, and of course you'd have remove item if you made a mistake and all that kind of stuff. I generally just double the number of events for like adding, removing if it's kind of cruddy at the beginning. But for add item, and then of course it's going to have menu, and which menu are we talking about? What's this Fridays for this thing? And then which item are we adding to it? Item is here, and then more importantly here for you is limit, right? Limit. You can, if it's crazy, that's fine. If it's 100, maybe they all order sandwiches, but that's okay. You're not taking up space in ovens. You can start, you can get cracking on those the next, early in the morning or something, right? So
Exactly.
So is that kind of a better way of looking at it? This add item here.
Yeah, that's.
And then maybe there might be some more information here on this group created, right? Where you would say, 2020, and that's next week, so it would be, what's the date today? 22nd, so it would be 29th, right? 29th.
Yes,
01,
it would be
29th.
2021 already, though.
Oh, damn it, you got me. I can't wait to write my first checks of the year. Boy, that's going to be fun. All right. So there we go. So that's kind of better. Group created. I guess we give it a code, right? So we give it a code. 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. But internally we have an ID, which is going to be represented by something more friendly for our eyes, so people understand that it's a non-numeric ID. When we do implement it, we'll have a numeric ID in there, as we do, and no programmer is going to get thrown off by the fact that we're using strings for keys, etc. Right? So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we're getting there.
And then, I guess this piece of information wouldn't really be needed. We would just have the date. And then obviously you would have a pickup time, right?
Yep. So pickup time.
I guess it would be 11:30 a.m. or something like that if they're close by.
There's a group limit, which is just
Total items.
Total people actually.
Total people limit.
And then there's a member limit, which is $1 value.
Okay, and then per order limit, I guess $30 or something. Right?
That way you can get 2 bowls of soup if you want, but you can't get 2 sandwiches.
Right.
So it would put you over the limit. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good. So that kind of now, in order to make this a little more readable, I sometimes like to just control left arrow and control shift and bold these so it kind of jumps out at you. But once we get like ONote and other tools going, this event modeling exercise will be way easier. But the key point here is we're using real data, so we really feel the system. We start to put that data up here, and when you talk to people in your bakery, they actually understand that, oh, if I log into the website, I can go to this thing and put in these items. Cool. Awesome. It becomes a manual as well, because you can walk through the happy path. You can add some unhappy paths, like if something went wrong, maybe one of the ovens is broken, you can need to call the school saying that we can't make enough pizzas. Can you please have people that ordered pizzas submit another order of something else? So you need to think about those things. I don't know what you do currently, but you would have an alternative workflow. It's not just you just don't roll back the database. You've affected people's lives. They're expecting their pizza. So now you need to have another workflow to take care of that, right?
Right. Gotcha.
But we can do that later. I don't want it to be too much of a distraction. We can basically copy paste a portion of this workflow and say this is where things went wrong. You discover 6 a.m. you get in there, or 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. whenever. One of the ovens is broken. What are you going to do? Obviously, you're not going to call anyone because everything else is broken. You're going to have to adjust quite quickly for either finding replacement pizzas from another place that can make them, or can lend you an oven. You might lose some money because of it, or maybe do a substitute product. You need to show what you do, I guess. Just
yeah,
what
there
the
has to be a
possibilities
policy
are.
around that, and then like a procedure for following. Yeah, and so
Exactly.
we
So-
have those internally here, but yeah.
Yeah, so what we would do on the workflow, because you have like a Thursday and a Friday, you'd put like a red line here, like right in the middle here, and you'd say, this is what happens when an oven breaks, and you'd put an arrow over to another workflow where you would then go ahead and show an example of what happened in an event of an oven being broken. And you can repeat this for other things, like your till doesn't work, you can't process credit cards or whatever. You can start to get those scenarios out there. But the nice thing is you have a visual manual for not just yourself and the programmers, but you also can show this to the staff so they understand what they're doing the previous night. It's like, oh, this is why I'm in here for extra hours every Thursday, because we have these Friday lunches. And they kind of get the business as well as how everything kind of connects together, and they see the importance of their role in the overall thing. So it's not too complex in a bakery, but for other businesses it may be quite crucial to have that frame of reference for your work. So let's keep going. What happens? I guess over here we have an order that you just kind of finalize at the end. Is this kind of how you do
Yeah.
that?
So there's a couple of other things that do happen along the way. So they can just take that. So people are going to walk up, they're going to punch in their group code, and they're going to select their stuff. There's going to be a timeout, because if we don't get the order, we bake our croissants from scratch. So if you haven't put your order in by Wednesday, it takes us almost 4 days to make croissants. So
Right.
we need to have our production queue so that at Tuesday at midnight it's done. So there's an expiry thing and a notification that goes out.
Okay.
And then they get to go and say finalize my order and pay for it, and that's when it would be added to our production queue.
Right. Okay. So we can do. I like those timeline things where things expire. I mean, this is like built for this methodology is built for it. It's so centered around that timeline to be able to show expiries and things like that. So you would basically think that these items would have to be done earlier then. So you would probably have a Monday here, so you can do those croissants on a Tuesday, right? Or start making them.
Yeah, so if it was for a Friday, we need to have the order by Wednesday morning at the latest. That would
Right.
give
So
us-
Tuesday's kind of like a good example of that thing here. And so this group menu people are starting to use. Obviously, I have a teacher and a student. Oops, not two students. That's teacher. Teacher. Yeah, we want to give a name. So I don't know. Mary, the teacher, and then just so we can use them as IDs within the system, right? And then Joe the student, and it's actually Joe that's using this menu, right? He knows what the coupon code is. They got an email or something about the code for this week with a link in it.
Right. Yeah.
And so they do that. The teacher actually doesn't do much, do they?
They basically generate the group and get the group code for a specific date, or they might do 7 on a particular day. Like the example that I said was.
So the teacher's the one that's doing this here. I have it in the wrong place.
In that particular case, yeah, the
Okay.
teacher would be menu creator.
That's you, I thought. And then
Yeah,
what
so-
do the teachers do? They just get the
The-
code, right? So they got an
They-
email with the code.
They create a group. They create a group.
They create a group of IDs and emails and things like that?
So
Or is it just a number?
they let's just call it that number. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, I'm going to create a group order for the 29th of January. And then they get their group code for it. And they say it's for Friday. So it's, the cutoff is on Wednesday. The system determines that date for them and shows them when it's going to be.
We could probably
they're
have
gonna
the
share
group
that code
creation
out.
here then on this end here. I just moved that over, and then here we have, instead of a menu creator, we have a group creator. Is that right?
Right.
Because this might be Monday, right? So here, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me just do this. Click this and duplicate that, and then we put Monday on here. Monday. Sorry, tiny writing, I know, but I just want to have a view of everything else. And this is not a menu creator, but this would be a group creator.
Right.
And this is where they can basically do all the data that's in here, because they'll have limits on there, because they're on the hook for paying for this, right? So they have to. They're the ones that are doing this whole thing, and just to come on, create group. Why am I not typing? Okay. Create group. Maybe add an italic or underline for the name. Sure, let's go create group. Of course, it's a command, so we're going to make it blue. Make it a little bit less. So here we have create, and we need fields for all that. So, we have to think about what a good way is to kind of present that. All those fields for someone to do that with. So if someone wants to do that, help out and make the group creator item here. Then we'll see how that all connects up. Perfect. Who wants to do some UI stuff? We always have very few, very few volunteers for drawing the UI. I always end up doing drawing the UI. Actually, Rick's pretty good. He's always throwing in extra arrows and stuff here and there. Okay, so that's on Monday. You can see that the teacher creates the group, and then students start to pick stuff here. So they would go to this, and they would probably have like their email and other ways to identify themselves. But for now, we'll just skip that. And here they have nothing picked, so we just do nothing. And then this kid loves sandwiches. Let's say gets an extra sandwich times 2, and finalizes the order. Right, order marked as picked up. No, order. This is order finished. Order submitted. And what data do we have in here? Well, it's for student Joe, which could be an email or whatever, and it's going to have items, sandwich. Actually, we can do separate events for those. So add to order amended, or added to order, and then student Joe. I guess menu 1, 2, 3, 4. Group.
I have another naive question for you.
Yeah, no, there's no such thing.
You tend to. It seems as though you tend to go at the line item level instead of the a higher level object. Is there a particular reason for that?
None. Just what my brain thought at the moment. You can always refactor. Okay. If you don't like it, just dump it in as one event. Like, here's the thing. Done in one go. Absolutely.
I kind of see it as, like on the front end, if they pick a couple of things, then I'm going to be sending an item array back to the server.
And you can always, if that ends up being a bad decision, you can always refactor it. So the nice thing about event-driven systems is that, closing of the books, you can then go ahead and stop using some old events that kind of worked for you, but you weren't happy, and start using new ones
Right.
that make better sense. Yet you still have the traceability of all the old stuff that happened, and you can map the old events to the new events in the new shape of the data. So it's really like running. It's more like a. I always say this, and I forgot to mention it when we were talking on Tuesday. Is that this is really not treating programming and system automation like computer science. It's treating it like accounting, which is really important because you got to be accountable for where the food is, what got made, who got charged for what. You know, being really good at quicksort is not going to help you here. Being really good at accounting is going to help you here. And so,
Sure. Yeah.
being able to follow all the data along in your event model, you can reason why the orders will be there on time. Everyone gets what they want. The labels on the bags will be, appropriately done, and all that kind of stuff, right? So, but I want to get into some more nitty gritty. You said that some things have an expiry date. We have like a week long thing to prepare for this lunch on Friday. What other aspects are we missing from that those stickies that you provided in that screenshot?
Sure. So let me just go from a group perspective. That's really it. So one of the things I'd asked a question about before was, we have a view of a packing list, and I kind of assume, or I kind of have the impression that when I'm creating that view of the packing list, that's something that should be updated as these dishes are added to an invitee's order. So I'm just kind of following what Rick's doing. Rick, would you actually mind sharing what you're?
Yeah, I'm putting it up on the screen now.
Okay,
well.
awesome. Yeah, would you just talk through what you're doing there? Because I feel like you're kind of on point there for some of that stuff.
I've been listening to Adam's been doing a good job of pulling out, by putting examples down, pulling out the understanding from you, like by making a concrete example. That's not quite right. You're saying like it's kind of like this and kind of like this. So I've been listening to that, and then so basically what I've been doing is kind of taking what he's done and taking your answers and shifting it to the words you're using, and the thing. So and just give me. Okay, so basically what I started is, you've got this concept. You're gonna basically say, I'm gonna create a group menu, right? So I've got a menu and it's gonna have a name. It's gonna, like, this is my normal service day menu, right?
Right.
And I'm gonna create another group menu called this is my high volume day menu. So those are two key examples why you have different ones, right? And
Yes.
then I'm gonna add some dishes to the high volume method. I'm gonna add a ham sandwich. All we serve on the high volume days is ham sandwiches. That's all we have time for, right?
Right.
I don't know. We'll get to later, right? And then later on, someone's going to come on and say, you're going to actually also have these group order restrictions modified. So I just say, like, basically you're going to say, I have a set of restrictions and I might change them over time. So this is like my lead time cutoff date. Like 3 days. If you don't set this order 3 days in advance, you don't get it. Your maximum party size is 25. Those are kind of things that I might have heard. There might be more, but those, right? And then basically a customer is going to come on, right? And then and they're going to initiate a group order. You're going to give them an order ID, so a group order has been initiated. The order administrator is this person, admin@mywork.com. I said we're just gonna use their email address as the unique identifier for this, and we'll figure out if that's good enough, right? And they're gonna say, and we're not doing delivery, so as Adam saying, we're just gonna, here's my pickup date and my pickup time, right? And I didn't fill in the pickup time. Let's just do 11 a.m. Right? Right? The total people in this order is 3, right? And then there's a member, and so actually I've figured out invitee order limit. So that is, each invitee has a maximum $30 to spend, right?
Right.
And then I'm going to add some invitees, right? I'm going to add Jane. and give you, hey, here's her friendly name, because I'm assuming you're going to spam her with some email, hey, right? And I might add some more, but I just give one, right? And then later on, the invitee is going to add a dish. She's going to choose ham sandwich. Jane's going to pick a ham sandwich, and then Jane's going to pick a blueberry smoothie. Obviously, there's no blueberry smoothie on the menu, so obviously you'd see that we'd have to go back and add that, right?
Right.
Right. So you can see that, and then she's going to say, okay, that's my order. I've confirmed it, right? And then later, at some point in time, this group order is going to be submitted by the administrator, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And that might, and with that, at that point, we would follow some business logic rules. Hey, is this 3 days in advance? Is there, and here we could later on show, basically that each time you add an invitee, hey, wait a minute, you got too many. But right now we're going to do happy path only, right? So you can see that there's these points where later on the commands submit group order would enforce your restrictions. But we don't have to worry too much about that guy. Happy path, we're not hitting any restrictions, right?
Right.
So this is kind of what I got the idea of, just a glimmer of what it takes to create the business process of your core thing. Is like, you can imagine if we had this implemented, you could ask your customer, hey, yeah, sign on, create a group order, and order it, and you submit it, it'll be ready for pickup. Magic will happen, right? This is the core differentiation of your business, if I got it right.
You're pretty close. We're pretty good. Yeah.
So what did I miss?
Well, there is the concept of the expiry piece, which would happen before. So you were talking about like the business rules for order submitted, and that has to happen. I agree with that fully. But there's also that timeout, which is going to send notifications. One of the questions that I had off to the side, I had actually written down 3 questions, and one of them was, where do we put in something like notifications?
I'm just doing that right now.
Oh,
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How are those?
What's the notification that you wanted to happen?
Well, I'm going to start with an example outside of what you're doing, because that teacher needs to get that email. So let's see how that happens, right?
So the invitee would have to get an email, right?
Well, you're creating a menu on Sunday. When you've finalized all of that, then you're going to allow the teachers to go in. So you're going to have a time that the email notification is going to go out. They're going to get an email in their inbox where it says, please make your order for Friday, follow this link, typical HTML-based kind of email that one gets with an embedded link here. Notice it doesn't affect the system. We show that directly here by clicking on that link. We get to our system where you can start to create the group, and we get all this stuff done. Someone needs to put in these fields into this, by the way. But anyway, the notifier is the thing that works off of a to-do list. And this is the best thing to learn from all this. Is to just make heavy use of what are called to-do lists. So if I copy this and I make it green, because it's a read model, so as soon as I have a menu finalized, I can then have a list. So to do send menu notification. And here we'll have, what was their name? Mary, and then Mary at school.com, comma, not sent. And this is a to-do list that a processor looks at, which we'll call this here. And when you finalize a menu, we do this, basically. We subscribe to that, and basically, I'm not sure if you have like who this is available for. So, there may be item availability. So you have some, people in your contacts, contact person added, and you would have Mary at school.com, right? We can see that we need that information later on, and that if you have this done, this information is going to be used for here, right? And perhaps beforehand, until this menu is finalized, we show that this actually is in a different state, because it is not ready to send yet. And as soon as we finalize the menu, we notice that this subscribes to that and then actually has the not sent, which means it's fine, ready to be, or maybe ready to be sent is better. That's actually better. My choice of words is not good, but ready to be sent. Me English speak good. Okay. Now, this thing keeps looking at this, maybe every 5 minutes or whatever you want, and then actually does the sending. And how we mark that as done is basically once this is done, because this might actually send an email. Nothing to do with the state of our system. We might have an SMTP thing. Maybe we have an emailer integration that we can do later. But for now, we simply say that it's sent an email. And so we show that's what happens in the timeline. That's the most important thing. Email sent. And because that is email sent here, and of course we have the information in there, such as Mary, we can then show that that is already then done. And so send email, and that this is email sent event. That then this also looks for these events, subscribes to these events, and we mark that as sent. And that's why the processor won't pick that up again, because this processor up here is strictly looking for entries in this table that say ready to be sent, and if it finds one, it does it. End of story. Now, that could be done in a reactive thing that's instantaneous, and it has no implication on the type of implementation you do. But we always break down processes like this to show that we have somewhere that we track whether someone got an email or not. Then of course this email ends up really, being in here somewhere. This is not a hard line. I want to just show that that is actually what it's causing. So I'll put little dots that implies that. And that's good enough for now. Does that make sense? For notifications?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So now the nice thing is for you really is to continue with this and drive out all the information. Like what are all the fields? When do they get populated? What's important at what point? And then do the same thing for another workflow of a regular order or a birthday cake order or a wedding catering thing where you need to have some things even further back in the timeline and see which parts you can reuse. And so I'm hoping that you're starting to see how quickly you can get going with planning out what screens you need to implement, and this is I commented earlier on the fact that an event model is really the good rubber duck thing. I don't know if people have heard of the rubber duck thing. You kind of keep a rubber duck on your desk when you're programming, and you explain to the rubber duck what you're doing. So that you get unblocked and can just do the next thing and get things straight in your head. Well, the event model is really a rubber duck. It's you can do this quite quickly by just saying, these are the screens that I want people to see. I'll arrange them into swim lanes and in the actor swim lanes and all that. And now I'm going to basically fill in the blanks, right? And it's a real good way to not gold plate and not get stuck on anything. And when it comes to implementing, you can start with any portion here because you kind of have an idea where the data is going to be used. So you're not going to have to crack open things that were already written as often as you would with just trying to do things from left to right.
Right.
So then we have the admin here. We forgot to name the administrator on the right hand side. So here we have admin or chef, maybe chef. Right. Chef or boss. James. There we go. So you create the menu, send out a link to the teacher. They go hit the link. They make up all the special instructions for that order for Friday. And of course, you can limit the the date to be minimum 4 days ahead or whatever, 5 days ahead, 4 days ahead, and then of course a limit on when the actual students can pick their lunch and all that. And yeah, you could. I think a lot of. I'm not sure if that's true for your school customers, that they do this mostly like a term at a time. So I remember my son's school had a similar thing, and he had to. It's called hot lunch. It wasn't as good as your bakery, I'm sure, but anyway, they they had to pick like for the term what they wanted. So one term he'd be stuck eating pizza every Friday or whatever, and then another term he'd have whatever else they had.
Here's a. I have a business question for you that just popped in my head. That do you guys have a default order? Like if I set it up, I'm the administrator. It's like, okay, I would basically want to say, if you don't pick something, this is what you're gonna get. If you don't
Yes.
pick something by Monday.
There's two sides of it. One is there's the default, like, so there's the default order that you'll get this thing. This is the default menu item when people log in, and if they don't do anything, then we're going to get 30 of those. If, however, they go to they get to the end of it and they've got 20 people have picked and the other 10 have not. When they go to force close the order, because not everybody has sent an order in, they get the opportunity to say, okay, well, of the 10 that are remaining, 5 of them are going to be a jambon fromage, and the other 5 are going to be a roast beef with smoked gouda.
Right. So basically you can say just everybody gets the default order if they don't pick, or when I go to close it off, I just have to pick for them.
That's right.
And that's a either or is it a both kind of situation?
It's a both and. We're doing both. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I think that's probably something, because that's, again, this is unique to your business process. So this core part of the business process is where to specify that out, right? Because that's actually your common happy path case, right? It's not really an exception case. It's probably rare that everyone specifies a dish, right?
That's right.
So that's why you're saying like, and that's why like some things you leave to happy path, but this is in your business. This usability of this experience is your core happy path of, I'm going to do this. So your menu has a default, or the person who creates it picks the default. Like the
group, like the group owner that
yeah,
in this case,
the order administrator, right? The person who actually is making the group order.
yes.
Do they pick a default, or is there a menu default?
They would pick a default. There's nothing that's forced on them by default.
Right. So for them to initiate an order, before they send invitations, they need to like the group order authorized. So they would need to add emails, right? And if I go down to see what I'm doing after invitee add, it really doesn't matter too much, but they might want to say, you're going to ask them, I'm going to initiate an order, right? And then I'm going to, invitee added. Look at that. It's pretty obvious that I missed order ID. I'm adding them to what? I'm inviting them to this group order, right? Group order ID, right? So, and here, before that, I have to do some so is that like I would have to just choose the thing, or is there like a set choice? Like
the person creating the group order would have to pick the default meal item.
And that might be more than one item, right? They have to like sandwich and
Uh,
do they pick like I'm gonna pick soup and sandwich, or I'm gonna give them a soup and I'm gonna give them a sandwich.
so in our system, you can get a sandwich or you can get a combo, and a combo has a multiple picks.
So basically, okay. So default meal added, right,
Right.
to this order ID, and this would be meal is combo 45, or we'll call this one soup and sandwich. Right? Of the day.
Right. Sure. Yep.
Right? So that makes it specific, right? So they probably have like an ID on it, but that's like make it real for now, right? So basically I would initiate the order, add the, and it wouldn't be added, it would be specified because there's only one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Modified. I'm gonna say modified, I guess, because it went from nothing to something, right? And I might change my mind later. I don't know. And then basically I'm going to add some invitees, and then I'm going to authorize it, like, do my payment details. Once it's authorized, as Adam pointed out, then there's going to be the invitees get notified, and there's some magic. We'll expand that, but basically, and then the invitee adds some dishes, adds another dish, and then they finalize their order, and then later on, a group of people might do that. Someone else might come in, and then the group order gets finalized, and on that point we check, right? And there'll be warnings and emails and things like that might come in. Like you might notify the person, you need to finalize your order. It's before tomorrow, right?
Right.
So, so you might want to notify admin notified to finalize order or something like that if that's your happy path experience, right? So,
I can't wait to see this all hooked up, by the way. This will be awesome.
so because you really want to think of that happy path experience. That person walked through, I just initiated the thing, I'm not doing anything, I'm not thinking, I forgot all about this, right? And now, hey, wait, oh yeah, right, I got to finalize the order. I'm busy, I'm doing all these things. If this is your experience, and I'm asking you, it's like, do you want to shepherd them through the process, or do you want them to be responsible for it? That's
No,
a business choice.
Yeah, like if you go back to that image that I'd added there, there's actually a number of timeouts that happen. So one of them is the reminder timeout. There's the expiring timeout, and then there's the payment required timeout. So basically, the reminder is for the group owner to say, you have 1 day left, and so if you wanted to, now you guys have actually gone a step further than what we're doing on our first revision, and that's fine, because we're not going to send out notifications to invite team members. We're going to let them sign up with the group code, and the reason for that is it just saves us a little bit of work right now. But in modeling it this way, I've already figured out that I'm not going to actually trounce anything. The fact that we invite someone to sign up versus them signing up on their own, it's actually, modeling it this way, I'm not going to have to do rework. I can just add it into the system. So that's really beautiful. But
Right.
the reminder timeout will be, you said your group was 30 people, but there's only 15 people signed up. Then there's the expiring timeout, which says you've got 2 hours left to finalize your order. Now, the thing is they might have finalized their order 3 days before the timeout.
Because of those croissants, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Those darn
and then
croissants.
the payment is required simply before we start making the sandwiches. So it would be, T minus 12 hours, the payment would be required. So if they haven't paid, they're going to get 12 hours before, they're going to get a notice that 6 hours before we're making it, the payment's actually going to go through.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So that sounds like, so in group order initiated, right? When I actually do that, I'm going to create, there's an order ID, and I'm going to ask them to order code. It's just like and do you just generate a random code, or do you make them meta password?
No, it's just it's just a like a part of a GUID, like a chunk of a GUID.
So okay, so A37V8. Oh.
Right. So you basically have slugs that aren't easy to kind of copy or guess in terms of you know.
So when I initiate order, there's the order ID in my system, right? So that I can reference it, right? But then there's a group order code,
Yeah.
which, and then what I'm seeing here is,
Yeah, this is why I would always have the order ID as not a number, because that's just a unique constraint. That's a technical aspect. I would never see that on the screen. So here I would link them with something like, you know, high school, you know, St. George's High School Friday lunch and the date.
yeah.
Right.
So they would have a friendly name, right?
Yeah, a friendly name, so I could track these things, especially once they start to show multiple orders for multiple schools and how they balance. For example, too many people want pizzas. Do you then fairly divide up the number of pizzas per school, or do you just have one school with, you know, no pizzas? Things like that. Because there's an opportunity there to take the menu items off earlier if the ordering is happening too fast and the first school gets to it first. First comes first serve.
Yeah.
You kind of want to take those things off, right?
There's another part of our system which is our normal bake shop pre-orders for cookies and cheesecake and loaves of bread, and we do a production size, and then we also have a pre-order limit. So even though we're doing 200 and what would it be, like 216 croissants, we're only allowing 170 of those to be pre-sold because we want in-store inventory on a particular day.
That's right.
So
you could also attach like the time effort for people to prepare each item so that you know how to staff people depending on your order sizes for the whole week, right?
There's all kinds of automation points to go.
Yeah, that's crazy. You'll have the most profitable bakery in the world after this is done.
So someday we'll have a conversation about what we're already actually doing, because all of our menu items have recipes tied to them with ingredients.
Right. Yeah.
And we actually do projections for ordering, and all of our ordering is already automated. So my wife walks up to it and she's able to say, "Oh, I'm going to need 16 bags of flour for Monday."
Exactly.
So we get orders
at least,
3 days
right? I mean, the flour will carry over to the next week. Hopefully, it won't go bad in that time.
16 bags wouldn't make us a week. we do a pallet of flour a week, right?
Wow, that's crazy.
So at the end of this, you see there's something here. There's group orders finalized, right? But then you have a bunch of internal processes that are going to check later on and might say, like, we either go ahead with this order or make corrections, right?
Yeah.
So that might be manual today, right? Or it might be a bunch of rules, but there's some. Now that I called the other thing, they finalized their order, right? But maybe it's placed because they actually. Maybe the word finalize isn't. Dishes added, invitee order, they placed their order, right? That's more now I've sent. That's my order's placed, right?
Right.
And an order finalization. Now, you don't have to finalize. Order placed, warning sent. You need to finish that, right? And then the group order is placed, right? And switching it to actual business terms for you, it makes it simpler than all these default terms. But now the order gets placed. And then afterwards, the group order is, you guys check it, right?
Correct.
And let's call it verified, right? And then you wanted that order ID and right? You want to say this was Chef Joseph. Chef Joseph reviewed this and said, we're good to go, right? So that means basically we're going to deliver that. or it's accepted might be the answer, right? I don't know
Yeah.
what's your business.
Well, so I'll throw a little kind of side thing in for you here. And we don't need to model it because the way that you're doing it is perfectly fine as well. But we actually approve the order on the front end. So if they say they're going to have 30 people and they've agreed to the 3 dishes that we've got available for them to pick from, and they say there's going to be 30 people, we approve that order. So again, going back to my little diagram or my little images there, when as far as the group order inside that group order piece, as soon as a group order is created, they actually can't people can't sign up for it, like to go in and add the group code until we approve it. We're going to approve it usually within seconds, because I'm getting a link on my phone to say approve this order. But the trick for us is, like last in service, we had 400 people competing for sandwiches. We'll say it that way. And so we knew that we could take in another group of 60, and then when the group of 40 called, we had to turn them away, but the group of 50 called and we said, yes, we can take your order. So we have this group authorization that happens before the invitees are notified. So
Right.
So the authorized and the invited, that is non-sequential. They can be adding invitees before we authorize, but there's going to be a point at which we say, you said your group size is 30 people, we can accommodate that. And then what menu items you pick, that's on us now. That's our fulfillment requirement. We've made the commitment, but as a business, we said we're going to take on 40 people. If you give us 40 pizzas, then we've got a problem internally that we're going to have to deal with, and that is not a happy path. But we're going to look at it from this point of view, that once we've said yes, your group can order, we're going to commit to fulfilling the order however you guys select your dishes.
So basically, there's a payment method, make it confirmed separately, right? That usually happens.
Yep.
And then you're saying in here, there's group order
Authorized.
And really, the key thing here is, there's the order ID, right? And just for Adam's sake, I'm going to leave 1, 2, 3, 4 because I know it's
Sure.
it's evil. Don't
Yeah.
ever use that. But then I had really the key thing. So this is authorized by, and then say this could be Chef Joe as well, Joseph, right? Could be someone else, but could be who else could be, like, what's
Well,
their
Chef Angela, she's the she's the one who runs it. So
yeah, there you go. And I can't spell authorized to save my life. I can't type authorized, sorry. So this is authorized by Chef Angela, and obviously there'll be all of these things have a timestamp.
So I want to leave some time. I guess people are seeing what you're doing, but I want to leave some time for some general last-minute questions, especially from James, just to see his level of kind of confidence in extracting these workflows and making. Is it valuable for you to connect them to the UI? Is it too? Is there not enough? Is it too slow to do that? Do you just need some time to get used to Miro or other kind of live boards for collaboration?
yeah, sure. So and I've got about 8 minutes left here. I had a meeting,
Same with me, yeah.
15 minutes ago, and I had a hard stop, but I pushed them back for an hour. So I've got about 8 minutes here. So no, this is really good. And like what I was talking about before was that when we were streaming earlier this week, is that I ran into we ended up doing a lot of this stuff without maybe the modeling rules or the nomenclature that you've selected here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is affirming more than anything, because a lot of this stuff, the way you detail it and capture it and everything is different from how I've done it. But we can go back to the list I created 2 weeks ago of like what I broke down, and on there it is events, it's commands, it's views,
Yep.
it's the things that there's like sections of them, and I had like I had 3 sections of views in a list in a notepad file.
Yeah.
But those were effectively swim lanes,
Yeah.
and it was just a straight list. So you've got a visual representation that's very affirming for the process I was taking. So this feels very intuitive for me. So I'm really happy about that. I like how you put the notifier on there. I feel like when I start drawing lines, because I'm going to have SMS notifications, I'm going to have email notifications. Those are through third-party service, and that little cogs, like I get that's like a system thing or something. Do those belong in a certain swim lane? Like, should I create
Yeah,
a system
so
line?
the guidance that I give for putting the little gears is kind of like what you'd expect a spinning circle on your phone or on a website to
Okay.
happen. That's
Sure.
why the secret to this is if I zoom in on this notifier, if I had, so if a notifier is used, maybe there's other processors that do publish and subscribe. We also use these to show publish, subscribe points on the timeline. But essentially, this green thing, which is a to-do list off of which the notifier works, on, and any other processor really works off these to-do lists.
That's just a queue.
That's exactly. It could be a queue, it could be a stack, it could be a list, it could be anything. But everyone understands what a to-do list is. That's why I use that instead of using the word queue. See, I'd lose a bunch of audience if I started to use the word queue. I know what it means,
Sure.
but others might not. So the to-do list says, what to do next, and it can be a queue in implementation. Doesn't really matter. But essentially, this lives where these events live that it subscribes to. And if this email sent was in another system, this command handler for sending an email exists where its subsequent event exists, in terms of where you host those. So there's an interesting aspect to this. By looking at where these things are connected to, you start to see the impact in terms of the amount of storage you get, in terms of what you need to account for on storage and processing based on what you do here. Because here we have a translation, we have a menu finalized, but here we have a to-do list for emails being sent. There's a bit of a translation here, so there's some processing here. Whereas over here, we really don't have anything. Send email is really email sent. So there's very little processing on this side of the system. And that would be important if you had a different set of servers looking after that. I hope you can see that you can start to analyze your solution to see where the majority of the work is going to be done, and you can make accommodations, especially for when you're dealing with the cloud, as to what's going to get stored where, at what costs, because you're going to start to get into volumes of information that you're going to have to manage. And hopefully this shows you how you can offload that and do the translation on the other side. Maybe there's multiple, instead of one notifier that does all the emails. Maybe you have a menu finalizer, and there is no translation here. This is just a bunch of a collection of all the finalized menus here. And over here on this side, you have the translation to email being done. And so there you would have more processors, less processing on the left-hand side, but you'd push that processing to the subscriber side. So you can flip this around, but usually that means that now you have multiple processors instead of one, if you have the translation done on the right-hand side. So you start to notice these cool patterns that we give fancy names to in like the Martin Fowler books and all that. But really it's just about where the computing is done, and that's a lot of times just from the naming you can infer that this is talking about something specific to a menu and translating it something that's something specific to notifications. And that's an interesting way to point out where the code's going to go.
Right, exactly. So I guess the other question that I had I did just check YouTube. If anybody's still watching that has questions, feel free to drop them in there as well.
We can also do a follow-up. If you want to do another, coding thing on, on your meetup, we could do that and follow up with actually how does this look, and can we map these things to specific bits of code and things like that.
a wonderful opportunity there that I think that we've got to share some of that stuff out. So, so the other question that I had noted was there's actually two left that I have. So the first was size of. So what on this timeline should be included, and when do you make the decision to break something off? And the reason for this is actually a catalyst for the second question, but I'm thinking about the person who is a group leader, and they might be managing 6 groups for Friday. So they're going to have a group overview screen.
Yep.
Where they're able to see the progress. They're going to see 20 out of 30 people in this group, 42 out of 60 people in this group.
Yep.
So there's this other thing. When do I make the call to break that off and actually draw a secondary timeline? How big or small does a thing have to be to merit those distinctions?
I don't see it as a size. I draw the line as to when it's important to do it. So if it was something that you know you're going to do, I would put it in immediately, because what happens is, even if you have multiple orders being shown, when you're zoomed in on one, you have the context for that, just that one, and you can see that the other workflow piece, like somewhere, you can push that out to the right, or push that out, expand this portion in here. When you start to use more mature tooling like ONode, etc., when you can collapse a certain swim lane, such as a group organizer system, if you collapse that, that should also collapse all the workflow parts that deal with that particular subsystem, and so you can ignore it while you're talking about the minutia of each individual order from the student's perspective. But then you expand it, and you can deal with those other things, and conversely, you can collapse the swim lanes that have the system about individual orders, and now you're dealing with that. So that's all coming in the tooling. Right now, what we can do is just zoom in and zoom out and zoom left and pan left and right on a large workflow, which is good enough for now. But as these types of storyboard for, event modeling is really a storyboard for architecture. And as we add more tooling to expand and contract, you shouldn't feel that you've come to a point where you want to start to include stuff. You should always feel free to include whatever is important, and not the size of it to be something that stops you. But if you want to have that feature later, then of course you'd want to start with this and then decorate extra information in there to be able to then give those dashboards for people that are coordinating multiple orders.
Sure. So then the final question, and as it related to that piece, was what about real time? How do you draw real time on here, where a real time component, say a hub with Signal R, is going to be updating potentially, 7 different subscribers, which are 7 different screens, which are subscribers?
Yeah, I usually put that as SLAs. So I don't. The important thing here is this is information as architecture. So it's not implementation as architecture. That's a really big distinction. So you don't want to go down the rabbit hole of trying to show how things are implemented here. You want to show where the data is on a timeline. That's it. And the rest and that's a real good end goal, because now you're free to say use Signal R or whatever other technology you want to do to actually reach your goals. But you're using this to say that I understand what the system does and what my parameters are for meeting my goals, and I generally have non-functional requirements drawn like this. So I would have, for example, the type of line would be quite thick, and it would be red, and then I would obviously change that back to solid, and then I would double click on it to type in there. I think I can type. Can I type? Maybe this text position. No.
Oh, there's an add text button, it looks like.
Right. There we go. So I did add something. Oh, God. This is last minutes, right? I'm trying to do this fast. So first of all, a larger size of text. Come on. Why is it not doing this for me? There we go. So now I can type in within 2 seconds. Something like that. And so I would have, and I would usually have this on the UI piece, or I could have this within, let's say something more realistic, within 10 minutes, and I would connect this where I finalize something and someone receiving this link, right? So I can tie in exactly what my SLA is from the perspective of the user, but I certainly can also have, from the perspective of the information, do the same thing on the technical sides of this whole thing, which could be, as soon as I receive this event, I expect that, come on, this is really, there we go. Sometimes Miro is, Anyway, sometimes I can just basically say that that this is within 10 minutes. This event is within 10 minutes of this one,
Sure.
and that would also fulfill that that goal. So those are just overlays, right? And as the tooling becomes more mature and we have filtering available, I can hide all the SLAs from my event model, and then show them if I need to. Because if I'm talking to someone in the bakery about what we do, I don't want them to look at these red lines with these other requirements, or maybe I do. I don't know. Depends. But I can hide them just to make it a little bit easier to walk through where the information is. What are my given when-thens that are generated for some of these, etc.
Right.
And you can see that in this case, those two numbers can't really be the same. Like this, the one below the line, your system has control of. But email sent, if the one above the line, this screen to that, you can tell that there's an email system in place. So you probably want to say that would be, well, by within 15 minutes, I want that to show up. So for that to happen, there's email delay on email servers that I don't
exactly.
control.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I can put 15 here.
The top line is really, you're saying there's a user experience. This screen to this screen, there's a user experience requirement. And below, to facilitate that, I have to give a system level requirement that I monitor that's within my control.
Yeah, because maybe your email provider has a 5-minute thing, right? So adding the two is going to make it, 15 minutes.
So in order to give that user experience, I have to monitor this part of the system and optimize this part of the system this much.
Right.
To give my intended user experience, which I don't have full control of.
Yeah.
So that's kind of key, right?
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm kind of reaching the end of my time here.
Yeah, same here. We're over time, but James, I just want
I
to thank you so much again for joining us and volunteering your problem space, your solution space, how your business works. That's really generous of you to share so much, and I really want to reciprocate. And if you need, I'm more than happy to jump in on the technical side of things if you want for your podcast. And then, of course, if people are interested, join us back next week, same time. Same place, and show us which other parts you figured out, and if we can answer more questions as you dive into this way of looking at systems, whether there's other insights we want to get and learn together.
For sure, and I really appreciate you having me. And if on the other side, if anybody is interested in the flip side of it, if you're in the .NET space, look us up. We're the ASP.NET Monsters, and we do a lot of technical level videos over on our channel. So
yeah,
thanks
definitely.
for having me on today.
So ASP.NET or ASP Monsters? ASP.NET Monsters.
We're the ASP.NET Monsters.
ASP.NET Monsters. Okay, and and it's run out of Calgary, right?
So Dave and Simon are in Calgary. I'm in sunny Manitoba, land of 100,000 lakes.
Very nice. And the name of your bakery, so everyone remembers
Chez
when they
Angela.
visit next summer
when
or
you
this
come
summer.
to Brandon, Manitoba, you're looking for Chez Angela Bakery and Cafe.
Chez Angela. Okay, we will make notes of that. I'll update the show notes with that information. So please send me this correct spelling, and I'll put it in there. So thank you again, and wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and everyone else as well as a really nice weekend. Hope you get some rest, and nice to see you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you next
Cheers.
time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Rick.